you don't get to places by yourself, right? I mean, there are people who think they do, but at the end of the day, it's the people around you, it's the people above, it's the good leaders that are above you, and the people that you have the privilege to lead, and the people that you work alongside. You know, they're the reason why you succeed, right? And it starts with relationships. So when I was a young PAO, you know, I wanted to build relationships within the command and say, hey, help me tell your story. Help me help you, right? Help us. So working with those working on those relationships and meeting the petty officers and the BMs at the station and say, hey, you know, you're the star here. Like, you just did this amazing rescue. They don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from you. And you know, they kind of do this thing like, no, I don't want to do this. But the moment they got on camera and they were on the news, they felt proud of what they did, right? Because they got to tell their story. And I found a lot of joy out of that. I'm like, look at that. And of course, they're like a celebrity in their own team, right? They're like, oh, look at the BM3. He was on TV last night. So that's important. The other thing about relationships I like to say is, so you're building relationships up the chain of command. You're building relationships, down the chain of command. You're building them laterally. You're building them externally, because you can't do it by yourself, right? We always talk about our partners and building those relationships with our counterparts externally is also important. And I did that as a public affairs officer. Anytime we do a press conference, I call my buddy from Norfolk PD or Hampton Roads PD and say, hey, you want to come to this press conference because we show this unified front. And that's important. But the interpersonal relationships is probably the most important piece, right? And I always love to say, and we say this in crisis communications, people want to know that you care before they care about what you know. And I think a lot of times leaders want to dictate things and say things, but if the people don't think you care about them, they're not going to listen to anything you have to say. Same thing with crisis communications messaging, right? You can tell them all these things, but if you don't empathize with your audience and you're not listening to your audience, they're not going to listen to anything you have to say. So I think that's very important. So people want to know that you care before they care about what you know.